All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome. This is Danny Hidalgo, and I help people unleashed from burnout to become Zen CEOs of their lives and empires. And this week, I'm interviewing a few amazing people that offer their passion work to support your life. And actually, they're part of the Women's Support Directory that I'm creating under the Burnout to Zen CEO program. And today, I have an amazing guest who is right next to me. So my left to my right, depending on what you're looking. My sister from another Mr. Heather Paris. Say hello.
Hi. Hello. So glad to be here.
Yes, my beautiful redheaded friend.
It's been
My
a minute.
firecracker. It's been a minute, I know. You are literally one of my favorite people to have on the show, FYI, but
Aw.
don't tell anyone else that. I don't want them to get jealous.
I won't say
So
it.
let me gas you up a little bit and talk about you. Is that cool?
Of course. Thank you. I'd love that.
Okay, cool. So Heather is a certified family life coach and strategic interventionist, marriage educator, yogi, certified breath work practitioner, and NLP programmer as well. And she's on a mission to increase emotional intelligence and resiliency, which promotes health and happiness within families. She has an amazing life coaching school, which we'll get into. And a year ago, I think now, right, you were running in your RV around the US, road
Yeah.
tripping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right?
Yeah. The
And even,
1 year trip turned into 6 months, but we had,
you
I
know
don't know, a
what?
little pandemic thing happening or something
Just a little
or
bit of a
something like that.
madhouse.
hmm
Just a little crazy was going on. And aside from that, she eats vegan wherever she goes. Did I miss anything?
And I love my husband, Thad, who travels with
Oh,
me.
of course. We
Yes.
can't forget Thad. He makes the magic happen in the background.
Exactly.
Awesome. So thank you for joining. I'm so excited to have you and always happy to see you. And I'll be seeing you, I think, next month, right? I think I said I was going to see you in a month. So I'll be seeing you live and in
Yes.
person. Maybe we'll do something then too. That'll be fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So let's get into it because I know we only have a limited time. I want to know about you. How did you get into all this amazing work? You're kind of a jack of amazing trades. What sparked your interest for this transformational work? And what do you like helping with people the most?
Yeah, so my biggest passion is definitely relationship work. I love working with couples that are on the brink of breakup, that feel like there's just no way back. In fact, somebody said that to me today. She just said, I had no idea that people who hated each other could come back from that. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So that's what I'm most passionate about. And I think it all stems from my own personal life, because I have had multiple marriages, which means multiple divorces, and that sucks. It's really horrible. And so after I got divorced from my ex-husband, I vowed to never, ever, ever endeavor into marriage again. But I wanted to do the work and go to school and get the education to help other people have happy marriages so that, for the health of their family and their kids and stuff. And I decided to just kind of dedicate my whole entire life to putting love out into the world and teaching other people how to love healthy and happy. And that's when I met my husband, Thad, who became my husband. And now we do it together. We both coach and we learn, we both studied, we learned how to make marriages work, how to have happy and healthy relationships, because they don't teach it in school. You don't learn this from anyone. And if more than right now, I think it's more than 50%. I heard as high as 70% of all marriages in the US fail. So if that's true, even if it's 50%, as was commonly thought of, that means that half of every single kid coming up today has parents that are divorced, going through a divorce, breaking up, whatever. And so somebody needs to teach people how to have happy, healthy relationships so that young people have more stability in their families. So that's what I'm passionate about
Wow.
because of my own experience.
No small potatoes.
Just a little undertaking there.
Just a little. Do you actually teach that to people in the life coaching program, or is that separate from your work?
I do. One of the things when I started the Inspired Life School, I started it because I wanted, like, I was like, where the hell are my people? Where are my people? You know what I mean? And they say if like, build it and they will come. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to have a life school, like a life coach training school, and teach people how to do the same work that I do, so that I can like kind of like build a peer network basically. And my idea in the early stages, in the very beginning, was to train people to be coaches, have them all be my peers, and then refer business out to them. But it kind of evolved a little slightly bit differently. Now I'm running the school. My husband and I both coach, and we've got students that have come from all over the world. So that's pretty exciting. And it's not so much as much peers, although everyone that graduates, I feel like they become my friends at some point. But but it's not really about that. It's about putting emotional intelligence out into the world and teaching people how to have happy, healthy relationships. And that's literally only 1/12 of the program. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's such a small portion. But even if you just got that part of my training, that alone would help you improve your relationship, every relationship that you have around you, your friends, your family, people that you coach. Just that alone, but it teaches you so much more. Do you know what I
I
mean?
love that. Wow. I
Mm-hmm.
love that so much. I mean, I know a lot of it is like sort of doing the inner work, and then obviously you can work on the relationship piece. So I understand why it's only 1/12, because there's so much more that you can learn and do, and right.
Right. Oh
So
yeah,
that
absolutely.
so that said, like, why do you think this work is so important right now, especially right now?
Well, Tiani, the world is shit. So I'm just putting it out there.
Kind of,
The
sort
world
of.
is garbage, for real. Like, there's garbage things happening. I feel like almost like we're at a crossroads. And if you asked me this a year or two ago, I would have said the same thing. Like, I'm the most positive person I know. I really am. I try to find all of the positive things and all of the positive things that I can do to contribute to the world. But there's a lot of friggin' work to be done, because there's a lot of people out there who are not woke, whatever that means to you. It
Yep.
means something different to everybody. But there's a lot of people, especially now after the past year and a half that we've had with the pandemic. There are people that are seriously, seriously in crisis and having major mental health crises. Even people who were before this, like, very healthy, well-adjusted, happy people, our suicide rates have skyrocketed. Drug use has skyrocketed. I work part of the time in a recovery center doing yoga and stuff like that in the recovery population, and people are overdosing in record numbers. You throw a global pandemic into a world full of people that already might not have been taught to be emotionally resilient, and you're going to have a lot of shit, right? And so people are
Absolutely.
hurting. And I'm not saying that people are shit, I'm saying the times are shit.
Yeah, yeah,
And people are in dire crisis and need our help. So,
absolutely.
that I honestly forgot what the original question was, but I hope that answered it.
Yeah, I was asking why it's so important. And so,
Oh yeah,
man, so many questions to ask out of that one. So
I know.
I want to know, like, what do you think is the first thing that we can support, especially through the work that you're doing and through the program that you're creating? Because we talked about emotional resiliency. So obviously
Mhm.
that's part of the work. Tell me more about that.
Well, I think the number one thing, like anybody watching, the number one thing that you can do is to focus inward on yourself and become self-aware. Because if you don't do the work, you can't expect anyone else to do it. And you're just going to keep bumping up against other people that are in crisis emotionally. And even if you're like, you might be healthy, physically healthy, have a job, whatever, you're thinking, oh, I'm fine, I'm way better than everyone else. But if you're not addressing your mental health, not your mental illness, but your mental health, um, you might just be not okay. Do you know what I mean? It's a variant from just a little bit not okay to I'm in serious crisis, and all of that needs
Absolutely.
to be addressed. Because a lot of times I hear people say, "Well, I don't have it as bad as I used to say that." Honestly, I'll tell you a story. One time when I lived out in California, this was a million years ago. My ex-husband was in the Navy, and I like I couldn't make it through my day without sobbing, right? So I went to the doctor, I went to see a psychiatrist, and I walked into his office and I sat there and I sobbed, and he's like, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I don't feel like I should be here." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Because I sat out in the waiting room with men in uniform, like military uniforms, and they have come from like war and they've seen horrible things, and I'm just like anxious." And it was him that helped me, realize that no problem is more deserving of help or less deserving. And so, I started to do the work for myself, and, having been diagnosed with social anxiety and anxiety disorder and OCD, I did the work for myself, and I kind of let myself off the hook for not being damaged enough, um, and did the work. So I think that everybody just needs to address their own self-awareness and kind of like be okay with not being okay and asking for help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That kind of reminds me of something I heard, back when I was more on the religious side of the of things. And they said that, about carrying your cross, and that no one's
Right.
cross is bigger than anyone else's. Everyone has their own version of a cross that they carry.
Exactly.
So everyone is experiencing their version of whatever this pandemic caused for their lives, according to many things, right? According to how they were living beforehand, their emotional state of mind, their families, their job situation, like all those different things. So absolutely,
Right.
no one's pain is better or worse than others. It's just your pain.
Yeah,
That makes
exactly.
sense.
And I think that we all need to address that. And I think if everyone just did the work for themselves and to make themselves better, the world in general would be a better place. If everyone just spent, an hour a day, even 5 minutes a day, let's be honest, any amount of time, like focusing on yourself, doing some meditation or prayer, whatever works for you. For me, it's meditation. And, I like to read my spiritual books, things like that, practicing yoga. But whatever each person, whatever it is for them, just do that. Take care of yourself and the world will change.
Absolutely. So what would you recommend aside from, meditation? Like, what are the benefits, what are things that they can actually do to start self-soothing,
Mhm.
understanding and all those different elements?
I would say to dedicate at least 30, a bare minimum of 30 minutes a day to yourself. You can start with 5 if you feel like this is junk science and you don't, you want to see if it works first. Start with 5 minutes. I don't care. Start with 60 seconds, but give yourself a portion of time each day for yourself. And if I hear, like, I hate the word self-care, although I use it all the time because it's so popular, but self-care isn't going and getting your nails done once a month. I mean, it might be part
It
of it,
can
but
be part of
self-care
it.
is something that is sustainable for you to do on a daily basis. Brushing your teeth every day is self-care. Taking a shower, washing your hair, that's all self-care. Taking care of your home is self-care. The things that you do
Yep.
on a daily basis to make sure that your person is healthy and happy emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually is self-care. It's not the thing that you do once in a while. That's a lug, like a nail, getting your, and I love pedicures and manicures, but that's a luxury. That's a treat, right? That's a fun thing to do and it's wonderful. But self-care is the thing that you do every single day that's sustainable to keep yourself healthy. And so if
Absolutely.
people would just do like, 20, 30 minutes a day of just sit in silence, even just turn everything off and sit quietly, even if you're driving to work, whatever it is,
Absolutely.
just do it.
So here's a question, because I mean, a lot of things are happening right now. What do you think are
Mhm.
the major patterns or beliefs that you notice that limit people from being more in alignment with their emotions, with their lives, being more energized, being more joyful, all those things? What do you think is holding people back from that?
I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I think one of the biggest things is their mindset around how things should be. Like yesterday, I was talking with a client and we were working on her mindset around money because her living in lack, financial lack, has caused her to have suffering, right? So, I
Right.
mean, I practice a lot of Buddhist principles, and the whole premise of Buddhism is life is suffering, that there is a cause for suffering, and that basically we endeavor to lighten our suffering through detachment. And so we were working on getting her a more financially abundant mindset. But I think it's the mindset of lack, no matter what it is, whether it's financial or relationship or physical, like it doesn't matter. It's just that relationship, that mindset that you have with the thing that you have resistance to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it also feels like people feel like there's only so much of things in the world also. So that lack
Right.
mentality is also like it's lacking because there's only so much to go around, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if that person has their piece, I'm not going to get my piece, right?
Exactly. And I personally don't believe that one single bit. There's plenty to go around. I just heard, this is the dumbest thing, but I heard that Thad told me that there's enough cheese in in America to feed the whole entire world. And that is because the dairy farmers were going to go out of business in like whenever, the 50s or 60s or something. They were really suffering. And so the United States government stepped in and funded the dairy industry. And so they get zillions of dollars every year so that they don't go out of business. And as a result, they started producing like copious amounts of cheese. And you can Google this. There's
Wow.
actually cheese caves in Minnesota where they literally just store hundreds and thousands of pounds of cheese because they just made so much because they were basically selling it to the government to stay afloat.
Wow.
There's
That's
enough
insane.
cheese in those stupid caves to like feed the whole entire world, right? So, and I'm a vegan, so I wouldn't eat the cheese. So somebody can have mine. Somebody can have my cheese.
So that said, how can we get into a more abundant mentality, right? Because if lack is the problem, then abundance is the answer. How do we get into that mode?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all about changing your mindset, right? Instead of saying I can't, I can, right? It's just flip the script on everything. Change the words that you use. Stop looking your nose down at things. Like if I see a penny, just a penny, I will bend over and pick it up and I'll say, thank you, universe.
Mm-hmm.
Just little things like that. It's an attitude of gratitude. It's changing your mindset and changing the language that you use. I mean, it's just little tiny simple tweaks that you can make to start turning things around,
Yeah.
and it works. It's really
One thing that I
simple,
love
but
to
not always
say,
easy. Mm-hmm.
no, it definitely is not easy. One thing that I love to say is I don't have to, I get to, right? Because
Exactly.
that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole different mindset of like, hey, even though maybe I don't want to do it, but hey, I get to do this. That's a choice that I get, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I've
I
done
love that.
many videos on those words because that is a little tiny tweak that you can make that you have to get in the habit of and practice. But once you do, it changes your entire life.
Absolutely. So that said,
Yeah.
habits, right? Like
Yeah.
doing
Habits.
habits consistently, like that's also another way that people can adopt that abundant mindset. Is there any
Right.
like secret little thing that you do that kind of that brings you abundance? Do you, oh, I have one, your frogs. Talk about your frogs.
I do collect frogs. Yeah, and I learned an acronym for frog that was fully relying on God or goodness, whatever you want to say. But
Ooh.
I have frogs all over my whole house and yard, and my friend would say I have too many frogs, but
Does your
I
husband say
love
that
them.
too?
No, he's the one that buys them for me. Dad buys them all. But they're only meditating frogs. That's the only kind, right? Because I'm all about, I mean, that's my logo is a meditating frog. Um, I forgot what the question was again.
What's a secret little habit that you have in your life that kind of reminds you to be abundant? And frogs is
Yeah,
one. Is there another one that you have?
frogs is one. So this is one, my mala necklace. I wear malas every day and I call it my reminder to be kinder. So that's just like,
Mm.
oh, and it's like an actual change. I put it on in the morning before I go out the door and I feel a change and a shift in myself.
I
Do you know
love
what I
it.
mean? So just whatever it takes, little tiny reminders, a rubber band around your wrist, a mala on your neck, a frog in your office, just little reminders to be fully present and living in this moment. Because right now, right here, we're totally fine and okay. And I think that's like the biggest. That's just the biggest thing you can do is just
Absolutely
be
love
fully
it.
present.
I have crystals all around my house. So it's like a reminder that everything is
too.
energy and you can change your energy at any time. I love that.
Also, I like to be super generous. Like last week, I sent money to each of my kids, and I like randomly through Venmo. I'm like, here's $20, here's $25. Go buy yourself lunch. Go have a coffee on me at
Oh, I
Starbucks or
love
whatever.
that.
Just for the heck, not a lot, but just for the heck of it. And then I went and I placed a couple of orders off of small, tiny people that I saw on TikTok that make, that have their own business and make their own creations. So that, like, if I can bless other people, that's just a way to clear my energy and my mindset around abundance and to put it out there. Because I really, truly believe what you give out comes back to you many times over.
Absolutely. So having the mindset, having the habits, that's awesome. So what if the shit hits the fan? Like, what do you do in those moments? Because, life happens, pandemics happen. What is your go-to strategy for
I do everything that I just said, but harder. So like last year during the pandemic, Thad and I mean, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we're pretty generous and we like endeavor to give and do good in the world. So during our road trip, we were passing out vegan meal bars to homeless people in the major cities that we went to. Like that was our jam. But then when the pandemic hit, like we can't go traveling anymore. We were stuck, right? And so I decided to give away coaching. Like, normally I get a certain rate and I said, I'm just going to do a sliding scale. So even if you could only pay me 1 penny, I don't care. I'm just going to keep coaching and like help as many people as I can. And it's never going to be dependent upon who can afford it or not. So I did a lot of coaching and sometimes people gave me more and sometimes I would get like $10 and it's like, it's whatever. There was literally no questions asked, never anything said other than thank you so much. I had a couple of people that didn't pay me anything and I still said thank you so much for letting me, be here with you. So I just lean in harder when the shit hits the fan.
I love it. I love it. So true. All right. So all of that said, you do so much and you have your coaching program and, basically tell us about like, what are you offering for people to work with you?
So I do have the life coach training school. That's like my signature program, and that's at inspiredlifeschool.com. But, I do one-on-one coaching as well, as needed. I don't do the whole plans or programs or any of that other than my coach training school. So if people just need anything, they just call me up and I'll tell you if I can help you. And if I can't, I'll refer you to somebody else.
I love it.
It's pretty simple.
I have referred so many people to you because I love you and I love your work. And I think that you're one of the miracle workers on this planet. So thank you.
Aww, thank you, sister.
So how can people reach you, woman?
They can just go to my website, liveinspirednow.com or inspiredlifeschool.com. All of my information is there. Actually, just go to liveinspirednow.com because you can even get to the school from there. But I mean, literally my phone number, every social media known to mankind is on there. Like I'm really pretty easy to reach.
You can stalk her on Instagram and Facebook, all the things.
TikTok.
Oh my God.
Yep, just hit 25K on TikTok.
A little bit about your TikTok account. I really want them to know.
Yeah, so I have been on TikTok before it was even TikTok, back when it was Musical.ly. Like I had created an account so that I could see what my kids were doing, kind of thing. And last year, my friend Brittany said, you got to start making little quick 60-second videos. And I was like, oh God, that seems like a lot of work. Like, how can I, like, I'm pretty wordy. Like, how the hell am I going to pare down? I could take something and talk about it for an hour. How am I going to pare it down to like 60 seconds? But I took her advice and I did it. And I like set out to do a video every single day because again, all the shit that's going on in the world, I wanted to put some good out into the world. So actually that was a year and a half ago now. Anyway, I listened to her, I took her advice and I just blew up on TikTok and I went from 25 followers to 25,000 followers in less than a year.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I love it. And I love your stuff. It's so helpful. It's funny. You talk about your family. You talk about turtles, which is, I think, one of your most famous ones, right?
Sadly, yes. I won't even get into it. People are sometimes people are unkind in comments. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't care as long as my material is inspirational. And then TikTok invited me to be part of their creator fund, so I create videos, educational videos for the platform, and I get all sorts of cool merch and like incentives and stuff from TikTok. So that's pretty, and paid. So that's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. 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 So yeah, so follow her on TikTok. Stalk her there too.
Inspired Heather on TikTok.
Thank you. Yes, Inspired Heather.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much. Any final words for anyone out there?
I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
I love you, and I love everybody who's watching. And I just, we just need to fill the world with as much love as possible, and we'll get through this no matter what it is. So
Absolutely.
I'm here.
Amen,
You're here.
sister.
Reach out to people that, that are literally, you can't throw a rock without hitting a light worker. I mean, there's people out here, you just got to reach out.
There's people trying to help people out here.
Exactly. We're here. Damn it. Come on.
You just need to turn around. Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, Heather is kick-ass basically. So just look her up. She does amazing things. She's doing amazing light worker work. And she's one of the amazing coaches as part of the Burnout to Zen CEO program directory, so that you can receive the support and the help that you need and you deserve. So join us on this journey. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. I love you to pieces. I'll see you soon.
Too.
Namaste and all that good stuff. And I'll see you all next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.